a series of messages entitled Sharing the Good News. Okay? We've looked at several passages, and we've talked about what it's like to talk about Jesus to people that you and I know who do not know him. What is it like? And it's, well, first of all, it's kind of scary, isn't it? A little nerve-wracking, okay? It's exciting. It's fun. It's something that you never know quite how it's going to go. My expectation is that if you talk to people about Jesus on a regular basis that do not know him, you'll never have exactly the same experience twice, and it's never quite the same. But we're excited about that. Let me just ask you by raising of hands. You don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to, but how many of you had any kind of chance at all this week to talk to somebody about the Lord? Let me see your hands. Yeah, a handful of you. Good, several of you. Awesome. Okay. In the last month since we started the series, okay? Yeah, a few more as well. Keep it up, okay? Keep it up. We want to continue to do that. Now, for those of you that are visiting, or maybe some of you that have not been here for a while, I don't know, like, say, Tom and Gail, welcome back, guys. Good to have you back here from Florida. Welcome. Good to have you back. So, snowbirds, so. It's probably just as cold here as when you left. But welcome. Good to have you guys back. If you're a visitor or if you've not been here for a while and you've missed some of these, let me just do another. I'm going to do this regularly because I want to keep recapping these, okay? It's on the handout that you've got as well. We talked, first of all, about sharing Jesus with others means, bottom line is, you're not ashamed. You're not embarrassed. Why would you be embarrassed? Look at what Jesus did for you. And I reference Romans 1, verses 16 and 17, that should say. I got to go ahead and change that one of these times. And I used my little, I wore my little Cornerstone University basketball little half-zip over jacket there thing, whatever it is. And half-zip means it only goes down to here, not that it's only half of it, but, you get the idea. And I mentioned to you that I like to wear this and similar things to it. I like to wear those outside. And when I go places, and I've never had anybody come up to me at a restaurant and say, "Oh, what's this?" My server or somebody at the next table, and say, "What's this?" And I say, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that." I'm kind of embarrassed to talk about that because I'm just not comfortable doing that. I've never been that way. Okay, I've never been that way. I don't care which one of my teams it is. So if I'm not ashamed of my basketball team, which is perfectly fine, okay, then I certainly ought not to be ashamed of the gospel. So we got to get over that. We got to deal with that. It's so much easier to just let a moment go. Wide open opportunity, and don't let it go. Okay, take advantage of it. Avail yourself of it. Okay. We also said that we looked at 1 Peter 3, and we saw where 1 Peter says that we should be ready to share with others whenever we have the opportunity to receive the new life in which the believing family treats each other with love and grace, okay? So when you share Christ with others, you're inviting people to come and be a part of this crowd right here, okay? That's us, okay? Warts and all, flaws and all, struggles and all, shortcomings and all, and I certainly have as many or more than any of you. We all do. But we want to be a community of love and of grace and of forgiveness. And so we have opportunities then to invite people. It says we need to share the good news of Jesus. Don't be deterred. Instead, be able to give a solid defense of your faith. Notice he says essentially a solid defense of your faith with gentleness and respect. That's important, okay? Realizing that you will quite possibly face slander and abuse. There are some people out there that are going to think that if you tell them that you're a Christian, that you're an idiot. Not everybody. Not everybody. I've already talked to you about the famous the book by the British philosopher Richard, name just flew out of my head. Okay, I can see his face. Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins. I always kind of get him and I confused with Tim Hawkins. That's different. That's a different guy. Those are Tim Hawkins. Richard Dawkins, who wrote a book called The God Delusion. In other words, people who believe in God are deluded. They're crazy. And he makes the point in the book that people who believe in God are not only wrong and deluded, but they're actually kind of dangerous. And they need to be dealt with. Really, okay? Now, you're not going to get that most of the time. Most of the time, Postmodernity has sunk well enough into our society where people will say, fine, whatever, that works for you, great, knock yourself out. But it would never work for me. So you'll get that response. So are you ready to give an answer? Do you have a good reason? Why are you a follower of Jesus? Are you prepared to answer that question? Why are you a Christian as opposed to an atheist or an existentialist or an agnostic? All those fancy words. Okay? That's what he means here. Okay? We also noted in 1 Corinthians 5 that we are ambassadors. Okay? Ambassadors. And I pointed out that if you look at that little thing there, and if you look at the gray areas, it won't make any sense to you at all. But if you look at the white areas, you'll see Jesus. Now, you and I are ambassadors for Jesus. I don't know, people might have some interesting, I have a number of books in my library about Jesus. One of them is that Jesus was a zealot. I don't think Jesus was a zealot. That's a movement, by the way. That's sort of like an underground, almost a terrorist movement that wanted to destroy the Roman Empire. No, that's not what Jesus was. We know that there were, people said about John the Baptist, this guy, doesn't come eating and drinking, and they think he has a demon, and Jesus comes eating and drinking, and so he's just a glutton and a drunkard, right? So you're never going to please a lot of people. Okay? But we need to be ambassadors, so the people really understand who Jesus is, and if you can show them how he has transformed you and what he has done for your life. So if you learn to look at the white jay,